I think, it's twofold. The labor union supports legalization and paying them fair and adequate wages because you benefit the unions, instead of paying them under the table. So the union is strongly in favor of legalization. Exactly. But at the same time, doesn't want mass deportations because it will affect them too. You see, because if a lot of those companies and organizations who belong to labor union are heavily influenced with the Latino population, particularly in California. You talk of the growers business and all this, they are predominantly from Latin America, you see. So the labor union is caught in between. But the best, policy is favor, legalization, but at the same time, fair wages for these immigrants. Because at times it becomes exploitation. See, when you use them and don't pay them adequately. But then, most of them, since they're undocumented, cannot complain anyway. Okay? They won't complain. That's the problem. So even if they are not paid, they won't even complain for fear of surfacing and the authorities, getting them.
And so they are sort of under fear of not receiving the kind of adequate wage, but at the same time they're also fearful of the fact that if they make too much noise about it, then they might not have a job at all. And if they don't have a job at all, then they are almost automatically deported because of no wages, no jobs, and et cetera. And so
that's correct.
Well, now, Dr. Madu, looking over this whole issue, and I think we've talked about Tennessee, and I think the same thing could be said in reference to many other states, especially in the Southeast, et cetera. But now, when we talk about having a national immigration policy, what are some of the options that the government has now in reference to this policy?
Well,
we've got about 2 minutes.
The government has an option of, quite frankly, legalizing those already in the country. And that's what a lot of, immigration advocates want to see. It's difficult to expel 11 million people, most of them with families, wives, children, all this. It's just not going to happen that way, see? And that's why the government wants to legalize immigrants, within a certain space of time. Let everybody, have a green card or a temporary green card to see how they behave in so many years, and then you get a permanent green card. Then you can apply for citizenship. I think that's what the government wants to do. At the same time, there are some elements within the immigration bill that they are fighting over now that is unfavorable. For example, they want to drop what they call the lottery diversity visa. That would be unfair because a lot of Africans who come here, that's the only opportunity they have for legal immigration, is that diversity visa. Okay, when the government drops that, then you deny them the right to come here because they're not, Africa and the United States don't have contiguous borders. Africans can't cross. They have to come through the ocean, 11,000 miles away.
And so they have to have some kind of special visa in order to make sure that they have access to an opportunity here.
Absolutely.
And of course, Dr. Madu, I think we're getting ready for the final statements in reference to this. And let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.